100-pound all-white Pitbull sat in a county shelter for 261 days. No name on his file, no history, no one willing to touch him. 34 families walked past his kennel without stopping. Then, a 2-year-old girl reached through the bars, grabbed his wrinkled face with both hands, and whispered one word: "Mine." That was 18 months ago. And what this dog does every single night at bedtime is the reason this family says he was never a shelter dog. He was just waiting for her. He didn't have a name when he arrived, just a number: Kennel 17, a 100-pound all-white pit bull with a head like a cinder block, a black nose, heavy-lidded eyes, and a body covered in scars that told a story nobody wanted to read. The intake form said, "Found stray, owner unknown, no microchip." The staff at Millbrook County Shelter outside Memphis gave him a temporary tag, K17. That was it. For 261 days, K17 sat in that kennel. The concrete was cold, the fluorescent lights buzzed 24 hours a day, and the only company he had was the sound of 43 other dogs barking, crying, and hoping someone would stop. 34 families visited the shelter during those 9 months. Most walked past Kennel 17 without slowing down. A few stopped, read the breed card, and kept moving. One woman pulled her son away and said, "Not that one, honey, that's a pit bull." A couple asked the shelter manager if he was safe. She said yes. They adopted a beagle instead. After family number 20, K17 stopped standing up when people walked by. After family number 30, he stopped wagging his tail. By family 34, he would just lie in the back corner, his massive white head resting on his paws, staring at the wall like he had already decided that nobody was coming. The shelter staff loved him. They said he was the gentlest dog in the building. He never growled, he never snapped. When the cleaning crew mopped his kennel every morning, he would press himself against the far wall and wait patiently, then walk back to his spot and lie down. One volunteer said the only time he showed any emotion was when a little girl from a school field trip waved at him through the bars. His tail thumped the concrete 3 times. Then the group moved on, and the tail stopped. Then the Nakamura family walked in. Daniel and Yuki Nakamura were both 33, lived in a 3-bedroom house in Collierville, and had a 2-year-old daughter named Hana. They weren't planning on adopting a pit bull. They came in looking for a medium-sized dog, something calm, something that wouldn't knock Hana over. Daniel wanted a golden retriever. Yuki wanted something smaller, but Hana had other plans. While Daniel and Yuki talked to the shelter manager near the front desk, Hana wandered down the corridor. She was 2 years old, barely 3 feet tall, wearing a pink pajama top with little clouds on it. She walked past the Labradors, she walked past the Shepherds, she walked past every kennel without stopping. Then she stopped at Kennel 17. K17 was lying in the back corner. He lifted his head slowly. Hana pressed her face against the bars. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then Hana reached both hands through the bars and grabbed his wrinkled face. She didn't flinch, she didn't pull back. She held his massive head in her tiny hands, looked into his heavy-lidded eyes, and said one word: "Mine." Daniel found her 30 seconds later and nearly had a heart attack, a 2-year-old girl holding the face of a 100-pound pit bull through metal bars. But K17 hadn't moved. He was completely still, his eyes half closed, leaning into her hands like it was the first time anyone had touched him with kindness in 261 days. Because it was. Yuki looked at Daniel. Daniel looked at the shelter manager. The shelter manager was already crying. They signed the papers that afternoon. They named him Boo. If this story is making you feel something right now, you're not alone. Sometimes certain stories just find you at the right time. The first week was a beautiful disaster. Boo walked through the front door and immediately sat on the couch. The couch groaned. He tried to sleep on Hana's toddler bed that first night. Yuki found him at 2 a.m. with his legs hanging off every side of the bed and Hana sleeping on top of him like he was a mattress. She didn't move either of them. Boo had no concept of his own size. He followed her everywhere: kitchen, bathroom, bedroom, backyard. If Hana fell asleep on the couch, Boo would lower himself beside her and press his body against hers like a warm, breathing 100-pound blanket. But the thing that got Daniel was the bedtime ritual. Every single night after Yuki put Hana in her crib, Boo would walk to the nursery, lie down across the doorway, and not move until morning, not without going through 100 pounds of white Pitbull who had waited 261 days for something worth protecting, and finally found it. You're still here, but you haven't subscribed yet? I'm not gonna lie, that actually hurts. A dog waited 261 days. You can take 1 second. Hit subscribe. Daniel set up a camera once. Boo didn't move for 9 hours. When Hana stirred at 4 a.m., Boo's head snapped up instantly. When she settled back down, so did he. Then came the night that stopped everyone's heart. At 2:33 a.m. on a Friday in November, Boo started barking. Not his usual low grumble, a sharp, explosive bark that Daniel had never heard in 11 months. He ran to the nursery. Boo was standing in the doorway, rigid, hackles raised, barking toward the back of the house. Fresh footprints in the mud led to the fence and back over. Someone had been in their yard, someone had tried the door, and the only thing between them and a sleeping 2-year-old girl was 100 pounds of white Pitbull who was not going to let that happen. The police came. A neighbor 2 houses down had their garage broken into that same night. The Nakamura's house was untouched. The officer looked at Boo, who was now lying on the porch licking his own paw like absolutely nothing had happened, and said, "That dog just did my job better than most officers I know." Today, Hana is 3.5. Boo is about 5. She still grabs his face every morning with both hands. She still says "mine" at least once a day, like this is exactly what 261 days of waiting was for. 34 families looked at Boo and saw a pit bull. A 2-year-old girl looked at him and saw hers. People say pit bulls are dangerous, but every night in the Nakamura house, a little girl falls asleep knowing that nothing in the world can get past her door, because lying across it is 100 pounds of proof that the world is wrong. Sometimes the ones nobody wants are the ones somebody needs the most, and sometimes a dog with no name becomes the only name a little girl says before she falls asleep. Do you think dogs like Boo are born dangerous, or is that something people decide for them? Tell me in the comments.